Mike Lancaster, he's up from Portsmouth, and I wanted to take this opportunity while he's here. He popped round for a 5-minute coffee for Steve, and now we've taken over the living room to come pin Steve down because we've been trying to get him for content, but he's training at the same time. So no, we've come round, taken over the living room, and we're here to ask some questions about Strength to Succeed. So, Strength to Succeed, how did it start? I've got you first, Steve, because you originated it.
So, Strength to Succeed was, it ties in with the mindset. I'm passionate about mental health, and I have my own unique way of dealing with things. I know that they're extremely effective. I also know that they're controversial as well. Some people probably don't agree with the way that I approach things. This area in Teesside has got a very high suicide rate. It's been right up there in highest suicide rates of the whole country for many years. I've been impacted by this at a very, very close level. Actually being in that room in this house and my brother knocking on the door and crying his eyes out, telling me that our little cousin has committed suicide. One of my best mates committed suicide, and I've had 3 people in the last 12 months that are all on my Facebook that are friends that have committed suicide in this area. So it's something I'm really passionate about dealing with. It's something I've had challenges with in the past as well. So the Strength to Succeed event, I thought, right, there's more that I can do. What is that? I need to give back more. Let me put on an event where I will take people on a journey over 2 days, and I'll be able to change their life from where they are to a completely different place. So yeah, that's how it started off.
And from Strength to Succeed and from you working on that, we've actually got someone in the room with us who attended Strength to Succeed and was a success of it. Mike, so you were in a dark place.
Sure was, yeah.
How dark was that place?
That was as dark as I had written suicide notes to family members. I knew 3 days after Strength to Succeed where, when I was planning to take my life. It wasn't the first time of looking to commit suicide, but this was the time that I knew there'd be no turning back from. So yeah, prior to going up there, I was, one of the only reasons for coming up was it's a last visit to my hometown, to be honest. It wasn't about going to Strength to Succeed thinking this event's going to change my life, which obviously in turn it did.
What did you think when you first heard? It was your friend, wasn't it, that introduced you to Steve and said, Steve can help you. What did you think?
So I went to the first day, I heard some inspirational stories, but my head was in a completely different place. Even the first day, I was still planning that my life was going to be taken. I've got a photo on my phone. I went out that evening with a guy called Davey, with Adam and with Steve, and I was told I was really quiet that night. I shared some of my story, and then I got back to my hotel room and I got a text off this guy, Steve, saying, I can take all that away from you if you give me a chance. After years of happy pills, private counsellors, therapists, everything over the space of 40 years, and this guy saying, I can take this away in half an hour, I was very much, who's this guy think he is? Yeah. So yeah, mixed emotions when I got that text.
What did you first think when you met Mike for the first time?
So we have a mutual friend, Adam Stretton, somebody that I hold with very high regard, somebody we went through army training with together. We were very close. He reached out to me and said, I've got a good friend, he's in a really bad place, he's tried to take his own life on a couple of occasions. It's not a cry for help. He's been caught not far from being able to basically carry that out. I'm really concerned that this is probably last hope. Do you think there's anything you can do? there's only one way it's going to go if I can't help him. So I was very aware of the situation Mike was in before he came to the event. We'd gone for food that night. As Mike said, he was very quiet. He was showing all of those signs from being distant from his emotions, being distant from what was going on. He was kind of going through the motion of being there, eating his food, but you could see he was in a completely different place. So I knew that he was in a dark place. The challenge for me was, because I've dedicated my life to this and the skills that I've got, I'm able to recognise when somebody's in that state. And it wasn't just Mike that I knew was in that place, that there was probably around about 10 people in that room that I could tell was in a similar sort of place. And certainly 2 or 3 of those I thought were probably close to suicide as well as Mike. So it's difficult to be able to spread that focus. What I believed with Mike was he was there because he did want change. He probably didn't think he did, in terms of he didn't think it was possible, but I believe that it was. And I knew if he gave me that opportunity on the stage, then we could turn things around for sure.
You picked Mike out of the crowd, but you could have picked anybody. I was told before that there was somebody else in the crowd that after that event they went on and they did follow through and committed suicide. How do you feel when that happens and they were there in the crowd in the event, and you could have helped them, they could have been Mike. What does that do to you?
I used to find this really difficult because if I've lost somebody and I've had some sort of contact with them, I always look at that and go, what could I have done differently? What more support could I have done? And over the years, I've had contact with people where they've reached out, they've shared they're not in a great place, and they've gone on and took their own life. And I've reflected on that, and in a couple of occasions, I took that quite personal of what could I have done more? What didn't I read into them situations? What did I miss? And it's always difficult over a text message. What I've learned is more recently is I can't save everyone, and you can only do your bit. So within that room, it was a matter of doing as much as I possibly could on the stage, allowing the other speakers to do as much as they possibly could, and giving focus mainly down to a couple of those people out of maybe a handful that were probably close to taking their life. So it was hard because the guy who took his own life, I still have contact with his partner now, and again they'd sort of brought him up to the event as a last sort of attempt. I sometimes say to Mike that he's the chosen one. The reason why he's here today was, and the reason why he's got this purpose now is because he was the one who came on the stage. So don't waste that because somebody else who could have had that opportunity didn't get that. So rather than feeling sad for that person, use everything that you've got to dedicate that to that person.
What's your mission going forward?
The mission, to tell other people and show other people that there's a way out. I was in the darkest of places, and zero hope or anything. I say what Steve did and how my life has changed round. I've got to use that now, and the chap he mentioned, which is Scott. There's a reason that Steve got me up on stage that day. There's a reason I was at that event, and why my life changed tenfold. Not a little bit, everything. old Mike died on that stage, I truly believe, and was reborn. I know it's very spiritual, I was reborn on that stage, and again, down this man, and I've got to use that, and with what happened to Scott, and I'm doing it, and I believe I'm changing lives out there and helping other people. And the times when I prayed to God, and I'm not religious, to say, take me away, don't let me wake up in the morning and thinking, why are you putting me through this? Why are you testing me? Why are you thinking this? Is to do what I do now. Because he was testing me to say, right, yeah, you're going to use your story, you're going to use what you've gone through to actually inspire and help other people. As I say, coaching, what I do away from here is I do it through passion. As a gift, as Steve said there, the chosen. Yeah, I believe he chose me for a reason, and how he helped me, it's what I'm now hoping to pass on to other people.
Where do you think you'd be without Strength to Succeed?
Dead. Simple. Yeah. Dead, 100%. No ifs or buts or graces about this. Yeah, I wouldn't be here today.
But 3 years later, in August, it's come full circle. Do you want me to tell them, or do you want to tell them?
Yeah, so I was given the opportunity, and yeah, August the 15th, I will, Strength to Succeed is on again, one-day event, the event that changed my life and has changed other people's lives, and I will host and run that event that saved my life. And I gave Steve sort of any date in August to pick. Randomly, Steve checked his diary and came back with the 15th of August, and it was only about a week and a half later that I realised, 3 years after being on the stage, August the 15th is actually 12 years to the day that I lost my mum, and now I'm going to be back on stage from the event that I was going to take my life because I couldn't get over my mum and everything else, what Steve did. I don't believe it's coincidence that 3 years later, on that specific day that Steve randomly chose, is I'm back on stage running the same event, and giving back to people, which is what it's all about. I know it's why Steve does it. It's why I'm doing it now. So yeah, very grateful. But August the 15th.
What's it like for you to see him come so far?
Yeah, it's great. I mean, I said to him today, look at how well he looks, just within himself, his shape. You can see he's smiling behind his eyes. His whole face is lit up. He's expressing himself at the highest level, and I truly believe that when somebody's been in a very dark place and they've experienced the kind of things that Mike has, they've got this huge strength, and not to look at that as something that's happened to me, but look at that you can actually be the guiding light for not just thousands but millions of people around the world, because I've experienced things in my life, some dark times, but not on the level what Mike has, and I've said to Mike that you've had all of that to make you perfectly who you are today to help other people. So for me, it's not about me. I believe that I was put here to help people express that within themselves. And I believe there's people that are like Mike are better equipped and had them experiences to go and deal with what they need to on their in a very specialist way, which I'm sure Mike will talk about. He's quite open about the experience he's had, but yeah, to see him there like that, it's just great. He's doing what he's meant to be now. He's found his purpose.
Will you share how you make change in other people? Like, say if I was struggling, what's the one thing you would say to somebody who was struggling mentally?
It depends sort of where they were at. Are you asking me what skills I use?
Skills first, yeah.
Yeah, okay. The direction what people take, we're controlled by two things, belief and our values. They're the things that are directing people through their lives. They have done their entire life, and they'll continue to for their whole life. So it's about looking at, it's having the ability and going, what are these beliefs that person's got? What is their model of the world? So once I'm able to identify that, and I'm sharing my great secrets now, I look to create doubt around that belief. So whatever that story is, I look at that story, I'm listening to those things like, i.e., I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy enough. And then it's, well, tell me what evidence you've got to back that up. And once I've created doubt around that belief, it's then swapping that for an empowering belief. Our beliefs are basically our programs. You are running on autopilot 90% a day. So if you can change someone's beliefs, the rest of it will take care of themselves. Like people say, what ongoing support did you give Mike? How many regular sessions did he have? We didn't have any. He checked in occasionally and messaged me because I knew once I'd put that new program into his head, and the rest will just take care of itself. So I believe personally I'm here because I'm able to shift belief in other people. I believe I'm one of the best in the world at doing that with the specific model that I use. So it's about understanding what that story is, because whatever someone's story is, that's what their life's going to be. If you take somebody who's got anorexia, their belief is that I'm overweight, that I'm fat, I'm ugly maybe, and it's not true. But the thing is, they believe that, and whatever we believe is true to us. So just because we believe a story, just because we've believed something about ourselves, doesn't mean it's true at all. It's about wiping the canvas, as I did with Mike, and going, there you go, there's your new programs. Let's go see what you can do with us. And that's why he's getting the results he's getting.
For somebody to deal with their own stories and their own mental health, would they need to then seek help, or could they do that by listening to people like you talk here online and then think about it themselves, or do they need that one-to-one sort of coaching?
Yeah, you can do it both ways. It does help if you've got a coach. I'm a big believer in that. But the I am of the discipline model, each of them letters represents a particular model. The second I is the I am, which is your language, your story. Your past doesn't equal your future. So change your story. You can be wherever you are right now in your life. You can be a blank canvas. Any single one of us. You could walk out of this room right now and go, right, I'm setting up in London. I'm moving to France. I'm getting rid of that girlfriend for this girlfriend. I'm moving from that job to that job. We all have that freedom to be able to just make that change at any point. So I'm a big believer in let go of your past. Your past. It's not such a fucking big deal. Whatever happened there, that's it. Take the learns from it. It's about where am I moving forward, and that's the strategy that I work on with people. I don't care too much about the trauma, and people might think that that's heartless and stuff like that, and you're telling me all this stuff and how shit your life's been and how you've experienced this and that. It's like, okay, I get all that, but where is it we want to go instead? And that's the quickest way to be able to change someone's direction. So if somebody is listening, look at your story you're telling yourself right now and change that story, change that internal language. That's one of the quickest ways to get someone to shift direction.
How is Mike having such a positive impact on others?
Mike's changing people's lives now. He's he literally. I know people who've. I've had messages off people that I've passed towards Mike, and they've messaged me and said, I was in the darkest of places, I was thinking of taking my own life, and I can't thank you enough for connecting me with Mike, because he's transformed my life. So he's now doing what he's experienced. He's changing people's lives, and you've got to give him credit for that, for being where he has and experiencing all of that stuff. And he's now a guy who, he was overweight, he'd had a stroke, and he's now somebody who's changing other people's lives, running marathons, becoming British champion in mixed martial arts. You just have to give him credit, don't you?
From knowing you and seeing before, I know you get some messages off people that are struggling, and you just said about you sort of no nonsense to talking about trauma and whatnot. How did you come to terms with that yourself? Because that's not an overnight switch, like where there'll have been things that you'll have dealt with in the past to then get to this point where you can say, when you look at people, what's it like when you see people messaging you on your phone and then you find out you're losing them later down the line?
Obviously it's not easy when I've had a few recently that had reached out to me, that I'd spoke with and took their own life. I hadn't had enough interaction with them, so over a few messages it's difficult to make that permanent change. People have got to be in that environment. Mike threw himself at that, so it's always difficult to see that. This is one of the reasons why we want to take Strength to Succeed to a bigger level across the country, and the next steps for Discipline is to bring therapists in-house, so I can react to things quickly, because I recognise sometimes if I'm busy, I sometimes don't check my messages for a few days. They might get caught up in the system. I want to be able to react quicker. So for me, building Discipline as a charity as well, where people have got a port of call if they're in a shitty place, and they've got that help as quick as that. That's where I sort of want to take it.
The ripple effect from you, one of your mentees, Gareth, he does the men's mental health walk. Do you think there's a more of a problem with men who suffer from mental health, or do you just think it's because men are quieter about it?
It's definitely a bigger problem in males in terms of suicide. So the question is probably, are women better at just getting on with it, or do males suffer with it more? I think because of being the male and not wanting to show your weakness, men probably tend to bottle things up more. I think women are probably better at opening up on their emotions than what men are. In general, I'm not saying that's in all cases, but I'd generally say women are probably better at talking about things. Men tend to find it more embarrassing that they've been in this situation. This is why I talk about it, that I've had a therapist, I've sat in that room, I've been in that position where Mike has, where you feel lost and you don't know where to turn, and you kind of putting your life in somebody else's hands to help you out of that hole. So I know what that's like. So when people say I'm such a strong character, mentally strong, I think it's good for me to share that. I wasn't always that way. I was always headstrong, don't get me wrong. I was always driven, and even when I was in a shitty place, I was still making a lot of money. I was getting results. From the outside, people would have seen this very successful, motivated guy, which I was. But I was going to sleep on a night with PTSD, couldn't sleep properly. And I didn't tell anyone about that, not even Gemma. I kept it to myself. So I think men are just probably a bit more closed than what women are.
What's changed for you since the event?
Since then, again, everything. Fitness levels, my weight, as I say, 20 stone. I was on medication from the stroke, which I'm no longer on any medication whatsoever, and haven't been since the event. So depressants, stuff from a stroke, all that's gone. My weight loss is say 20 odd stone. I think I'm now around about 14 stone. 2 marathon distances I've run since the event. Say won the British title. Studied because I wanted to know what Steve had done that day on the stage. So through COVID, I went away and studied regards hypnotherapy, NLP, etc. And then qualified, and now yeah, registered business as well as a 9 to 5 job, but I've registered business insured to actually be a coach, coaching people, mindset, fitness, traumas, everything. And again, to go from that stage 3 years ago, what in my life, yeah. And one bit to throw in there, where Steve's saying about the past, one thing that sticks with me, I don't know if Steve can remember this daily, there's not much I remember from that moment, because on stage, although there was 200, 300 people plus there, when I was on stage with Steve, it felt like it was just me and Steve there, nobody else was in that room. I can't describe it any other way. And I can't remember a great deal about this and what was said, but one thing always sticks to me, what Steve said there about the past, is obviously I'm Mike, a 23-year-old. I found out I was born John Robson, completely different name, which went on to cause me loads of trauma and everything else. And Steve said to me on that day, does it matter if you're called Mike, John, Bob, Mark, Fred, or who I am? Yeah, you're who you are now. And that really struck a chord with me to this day, because it doesn't make any difference on who I am in this moment. So yeah, again, with the weight loss, the fitness, yeah, if somebody had said to me 3 years ago, you will be insured and run your own business as a life coach, yeah, I'd have told them where to go, putting it politely, yeah, that they were having a complete laugh. I'd put them very politely. But guess what? I'm doing this, yeah, I'm doing it, and I'm always looking for the next goal. Steve said to me again on that stage, turn the dial up, yeah, again, putting that politely how he said it, turn it right up. And I always want to keep challenging and pushing me, and there's nothing that I don't believe I can achieve or do. So yeah, it's that mindset, that belief that Steve's implanted in there.
From your coaching then, have you gone on to save anybody's lives?
I've helped change people's lives. Yeah, I've helped change people's lives, whether it's in business, financial, whether it's letting go some traumas, yeah, anxiety, and yeah, I get people that's come to me to go, yes, Mike, you've gone through this, and we've seen firsthand what you've gone through and where you were at, and that change, which again is down to this guy, and they're like, how have you done it? Yeah, and one thing I'll say is what Steve showed me, and what I've learned since, is I looked at external things to fix me, relationships, houses, work, everything external, and I hadn't fixed in here, internal. So it didn't matter till I fixed this, it didn't matter anything external, and Steve managed to help me switch that round. And when I focused on me internally, loving me, liking me, believing in me, guess what? Everything good came. But it started within.
How do you react when you see Steve getting to be with all these celebrities, mindset coaching, high performance coaching, athletes and stuff?
It doesn't surprise me at all, the skills that Steve's got in delivering that positivity, the mindset, showing people what they're actually capable of. I think Steve admitted himself, yeah, to what Steve could do himself. He's nowhere near what he could achieve. Yeah, there's 100 times more, and Steve knows that. I know that we can all achieve so much more than what we do, so it doesn't surprise me one bit. As I say, 40 years of private counsellors, therapists, doctors, everything, and none of them had the technique, shall I say, to help me at all. Steve's technique, 40 minutes, I didn't have any separate sessions with Steve at all. 40 minutes of what Steve did on stage got rid of 40 years of trauma, and turned my life round in 40 minutes.
Just finally, Mike mentioned there about you get 200, 300 people per event. You know, all these people messaging you, looking to you. That's a big cross to bear. How do you carry that?
I tend not to give it too much focus. I just believe as long as I'm the best each day, so I have something that I ask myself each day. what is the 5 things that I'm going to do today that'll have the biggest impact on both my life and other people's lives. And as long as I stay in that being of being the best that I possibly can, I don't really care too much about the rest. It takes care of itself. I know that if I'm true to myself, I can put my head on a pillar at night and the rest will just unfold as it's meant to.
So tomorrow you'll be doing a half Ironman. But if you say like your position 3 or 4 weeks ago, you know, you were running 3 or 4 miles, you had your knee injury. You know, what in terms of mindset have you had to, you know, pull out with yourself to be able to deal with that tomorrow, to tackle that?
Again, it's like I say with Mike, it's all belief. I just think we're capable of so much more than what we think we are. A few weeks ago, the maximum I was running was 4 mile. I was only cycling on the turbo in the house, and then tomorrow I'll be doing a 1.2 mile swim, 56 on the bike, and running a half marathon. The zero sort of build up or anything for that, because I just know it's a formality. I go out there tomorrow and I'll be able to do it, which for me is just a stepping stone onto breaking that world record in 8 weeks time. And it's just all about what you believe. It's as simple as that.
What's the world record?
The world record is it's the Guinness World Record. Guinness do it in a slightly different way to the world record I already have. So it's got to be done in a certain format. I'm attempting to put 50% on the Guinness World Record, which will be around about 11 mile swim, 290 mile on the bike, and running just over 65 mile in one hit.
In 8 weeks time, it's half Ironman tomorrow. What's the biggest thing you'll be thinking tomorrow when you're doing the events? Because you did double Ironman before. What is the thing that goes through your mind when you're doing that? Do you have a thing you say to yourself, or is it just a constant flurry of different things?
So on the day of the event, it was all about just being relaxed. I'd done all the preparation, so it was just about having a nice clear mind, staying as relaxed as possible, not burning off any negative energy. I'd done everything I needed to do. What I wasn't prepared for, being brutally honest, was I know how to control my thoughts and shift my focus. What I wasn't prepared for was the hole that I went into when I did that double event, and the element of that negative voice coming in, just saying you're done, you've got nothing left in the tank. I was physically, mentally, spiritually broke, and I remember looking in the mirror, and again it was that conversation with myself, and I basically said, when you look back at yourself tomorrow, you are either a failure or you have achieved double Ironman and you've got a world record, so which is it to be? And in that moment it was just a matter of just keep moving forward. There's that saying, when you're in hell, keep moving forward, eventually you'll come out the other end, and that's what I did. So tomorrow I'm quite relaxed because I've done something a lot harder than a half Ironman, obviously doing 2 Ironmans back to back. So tomorrow it's just about staying relaxed. I know I'm capable of doing that. Am I going to be tired at points? Yes, absolutely. When I come to do the event in September, it's another step up again. I'm going to be going to a place I've not experienced before. I know it's going to be hard, but again, it's just a matter of that belief. Keep moving forward and eventually you're going to succeed.
When you're doing these crazy events and stuff, training for these, you know, world records, do you think somebody like David Goggins could do what you're doing?
Yeah, absolutely. So although I have a bit of banter and people compare me and David Goggins because of both having the military background, he was Navy SEAL, I was Army PTI and past P Company, which is wearing the maroon beret. So people compare us with some of the background and the physical events, but the reality is I've got massive respect for David Goggins. You can't dispute what he's done. I do think he probably milks it a little bit in terms of his 100 miler and saying he was pissing blood and stuff like that. When I look at my partner Gemma, she ran 100 miler, so Do I think he milks it a bit, or maybe he's not as strong as me? I don't know. But would he be capable of doing that if he put his mind to it? Absolutely. The guy's a machine, and you look at his world pull-up record. That's just something I just wouldn't want to attempt. I give him that. So I think we probably all have our own areas. In terms of, do I believe if we stood side by side and when who will drop first on a triathlon, I believe he would buckle first. That's my personal opinion.
Good. And before I ask you this next question, do you know much about Jordan Peterson? I know you mentioned him before. Alright, so I'll ask you, what are your thoughts on Jordan Peterson's advice on you know, mental health and young men about finding the responsibility, and then that's how you sort of take the first step to you know, climb out the hole and sort your life out, tidy your room, you know, clean your space, all that sort of stuff. What are your thoughts on that?
I'd only heard of Jordan Peterson probably 12 months ago. I don't tend to watch much TV and things like that, and I'd heard his name being passed about a little bit. Since then, I've listened to quite a bit of his stuff. I really like the guy. I like his approach. It's quite unique in what he does. But completely, it's just about getting a grip of those basic things, as he says. I think he's doing great work, and the world needs more people like Jordan Peterson.
Perfect. Going to see him in September.
Sure him that.
Yeah, I will. But yeah, no. Thank you for sitting down and talking with us. I think we've covered all bases there. But yeah, August 15th, like before, you'll see Mike on stage. And thank you for watching. Cool.
Sweet.
Feedback on the interview.
Good.